Soon after The Connection opened, a rivalry began when Barry Crimmins, a comic from upstate New York, moved to town and started the most infamous comedy club Boston would ever see, in, of all places, a Chinese restaurant called the Ding Ho.
Those of you who know me know I'm kind of a health nut.
On a given night at the Ding Ho, you might have a table from Harvard University, a table of my friends, a table from MIT. Everybody. It's a very cosmopolitan area.
What I remember about the Ding Ho shows was how great the audiences were, but how raucous it was around the edges, and how it was like crowd control.
And that place was small enough and weird enough with the Chinese restaurant in the back, and to be like quirky enough that you felt really at home there.
The Ding Ho was a very inspiring place where we could try anything.
What became the most notorious night of the week at the Ding Ho was an open mic hosted by one Lenny Clark. It would be impossible to tell the full story of Boston comedy without him. And once you see Lenny perform, you may love him, you may hate him, but you'll never forget him. Then, in July of 1982, just when the insular yet vital club scene was white hot, the floodgates opened when the executive producer of The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson found his way into the Ding Ho.
There was an article about Irish comedians in Boston. There was Crimmins.
Yeah, in the LA Times.
Someone wrote about this weird comedy club Chinese restaurant in Cambridge.
And when Sally came to Boston, he's the producer of The Tonight Show, to look at schools for his kid going to college. So while he was in town, he called the Ding Ho and wanted to take a look at a few guys.
I'd not seen anything like Ding Ho before. It was the most colorful, lively atmosphere. That it was so different. And all the guys that came on were good, talented people. When we left the club, all the guys were waiting for me in the parking lot, all wanting to know how they did. And it was a real mob scene. It was very strange. And isn't it odd that the one I loved the most was the one that didn't show up?
It was mind-boggling because it was the dream. It was like, that's the dream since 14 years old. And here's like 26 years old and the phone rings. And it was just unbelievable.
Stephen was just dumbstruck. I mean, he couldn't believe any of it. He was just completely in a daze, more than he normally is in a daze.
That thing from 2 weeks ago, the guy, 8 minutes, that's all? Yeah, that's... I hung up, I called everyone I knew, no one was home. And I was like, I was like, oh my God.
The fucking Ding Ho was the gate to hell. It was Sodom and Gomorrah with a fucking $5 cover.
As I mentioned earlier, a few months into making this film, we learned Barry Crimmins got sick and needed money for insurance, so Jimmy Tingle organized a benefit, a big comedy concert scheduled on the 20th anniversary of the Ding Ho.
The Ding Ho was such a special place that it just brought all kinds of people from all over to go and laugh together and enjoy the moment, and we're all back to redo that tonight.
The owner was a Chinese man who didn't speak any English, didn't understand any English. He used to watch the acts.
Jolene came around this time last year. He said, I got myself a great idea. I'm gonna build a Chinese restaurant right here in Edmund Square, you know. Now it's bad enough he picked a cowboy saloon and he filled the jukebox full of crummy tunes, but why'd he have to go and have to name the place Ding Ho? Everybody Ding Ho, Ding Ho, Ding Ho. Shit, these stupid jerks, bring them round just to show
experiences of my life. And it was all about, you know, magnificent friendships and wonderful artistry. I mean, and we loved each other. I mean, I love those guys.
Thank you, Boston. Thank you, Ding Ho alumni.